Syracuse Board of Zoning Appeals meeting of October 25th, 2018 is now in session. The first order of business is to approve the minutes from the October 4th, 2018 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Any modifications or discussion?
Yes, on the final copy, I believe the motion for Vine Street was made by Mr. Stanton and seconded by Ms. Evanstein, which is different than what was in the what we were distributed.
That's on the Park Street?
Yes.
Last meeting?
Yes.
With that modification in place, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? The minutes are officially adopted. The second order of business is to adopt the resolutions from the October 4th, 2018 meeting. Is there a motion to adopt the resolutions?
So moved.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Any modifications or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The resolutions are officially adopted. The board will now conduct the public hearings on today's agenda. First, the applicant or the applicant's representative will state the reasons for the requested variance and present any material or documentation which is to be considered regarding the proposal. Next, persons wishing to speak in favor of the proposal will be given the opportunity to address the board. Then, persons who wish to speak in opposition will be allowed to address the board. Finally, the applicant or a representative will be given the option to make any closing arguments or comments to the board. Following the public hearings this afternoon, the board may make a decision on each application heard. The board may also decide to hold its decision until the next public hearing. If the hearing is closed, no additional information will be allowed into the record, except for information that the board may request. That information will be available for public review at the zoning office in City Hall Commons. Staff will now introduce the first application.
Good afternoon. The first application is application V18-28. This is a use variance, an expansion of a non-conforming use for the property at 615 Vine Street. An expansion of the non-conforming use by Gary Millard, the property owner, and the property is located within a residential Class A1 zoning district. Will the applicant please come forward?
And if you'd kindly state your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Gary Millard, 615 Vine Street, Syracuse, New York, 13203.
Thank you. And could you tell us a little bit about your case?
Well, what it is I've wanted to build a storage shed in my backyard. I've been wanting to do it for many years, and it's sort of due. I've accumulated a lot of equipment and things like that, and don't have provision for any other type of storage. I don't have room for a garage or a carport, and so I've been wanting to build this shed, and I finally put things together to do so. So I started going on a mission for it and put together a lot of information and decided how large I wanted to build it for the use of what I needed for my needs. And so I'm in the midst right now. I've gone to the lumber yard to talk with them on their estimates, and which I provided along with my variance application and other paperwork that I hope that I was able to get through to you. Mm-hmm. And so I'm hoping to get a positive answer on that. I've also submitted just several days ago 8 letters of support from my surrounding neighbors. As a matter of fact, up till only yesterday, several of them offered to come down here, and I told them, I said it was very thoughtful of them, but I thought their letter spoke for them. Some of them are elderly. So I said their letter spoke, but they were adamant, wanted to come down here, and I thanked them very much, and I hope that those letters would help speak for them.
Okay, we did receive those letters, so we'll definitely take those into consideration as well.
Do you live in the property?
Yes, I do. I live in the property, and I've been there since 1982. I came in as a renter, and I was going to move out shortly after. It was a very old house. 1884 is the deed, I believe. And the lady who owned it had several properties. Her husband had passed on, so she made me an offer. I think, to unload it because it was just in disarray. So my father said, here's a chance for you to grab a piece of the rock. And he says, you just have to learn. And since then, I've completely rebuilt the whole house, top to bottom. Even some of the foundation, it was a balloon framed house. I fire stopped it. Brought it up to code and regulation, I believe, and even had the city involved in a couple times with some of that work. So I brought up
the upper or the lower level?
Pardon me, sir?
Do you live upstairs or downstairs?
I live at the downstairs level at this time. When I first moved in, I lived at the upper, which I think is a very cozy place, but first floor is more convenient.
I see.
Property is like on a hill, correct?
My property, yes, sir,
Okay.
is on a hill.
Now, you have a deck coming off the first floor.
Yes, I have a deck off the first floor in the back.
Have you considered putting the shed underneath that deck?
Unfortunately, the deck is in a lower area, so a shed wouldn't really be practical underneath a deck. It would have to be a child-style shed. When it comes off of the back of the house, it's approximately 9 feet off the ground, and then it tapers down again another 8 feet to the level. My backyard, because we live on the hill, is a complex contour. And to try to make use of the ground, that's when I decided to build the deck. So for many years, I had an uneven ground which you could only use maybe a third of. So what I did is on that 2/3 of that area, made a plane. So I could use it and be practical and hopefully enhance the neighborhood as well and my property.
And what size is this deck planned to be?
I'm
sorry, this shed?
The shed is, I do have photographs there included, which is a bit of a mock-up that I found out of Google. It would be modified from that, a little beefier, and I'm going to try to make it a little bit more retro, look a little bit more of the times, not so modern, like a granny shack. It has a 4-foot porch on it, so the actual dimension is 14 wide by 16 long. 4 foot of that would be porch. So the actual shed area itself is 12 by 14.
So while you were doing all this work on the house, did it ever come up that the house, as far as I can tell, it's allowed to be a one-family dwelling, but you have a two-family dwelling, so have you ever had to apply for that?
No, I didn't. When I was put in for this application, I found out that it was rezoned for a single family. Now, when I moved in 1982, it was a two-family. I found 2 coal-converted furnaces in the basement, which have been now changed to high efficiencies. But it sort of reflected me that the home must have been a two-family for quite a long time. So, and actually the rest of the whole block, aside from surrounding areas, is over 50% two-family or more. There's less than 50% of single-family on my block. So when it was rezoned for single-family, it was well after the properties were in place and probably being utilized as a two-family already. I did check into making it into one family. I certainly considered it. It'd be quite a cost. The home is broken up into 2 definite domiciles with separate utilities. To even make it into one family would be changing stairs, utilities, all kinds of things, you know, unifying, bringing things together. And I really feel that in a way it would be a very impractical move for that property, almost aside from maybe tearing it down and building it again.
If it was a single-family home, would that be something you couldn't afford?
I think it would be a little unaffordable. I actually bought the two-family with that already in mind, that it would help me to pay for the home, being two-family, to collect rent and such as that. So that was really the impression when I even bought it, would help me to make my decision. To make it a one-family, I think it would definitely, if I had to do so, I'd have to take out loans and I'd be paying on it for a while. I really feel that would, because I don't have the capital to really be able to do that without those kinds of things.
Any other questions? Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your case?
No, that I think the paperwork in there, hopefully that will speak for itself, so I don't really want to be redundant, but I really wish that I put this up a long time ago. I wish that I'd come to you from the very beginning, even though I actually went to the Amish. After meeting them, I thought it was a very interesting thing. I'm a laborer myself, and actually I rebuilt the whole home myself. The city helped me with a little bit, but I've learned how to do a lot of things over the years that my father's encouraged me to do. He's now passed on. So I'm even a builder. I'm a shed builder. I'm anything builder. So when I went to the Amish for the lumber, they said they'd build it, and I thought it really would be a neat bucket list thing for me, because I'm approaching my later years, and it might be an interesting thing, even though I might look physically capable, I got to pick my battles now. And as a matter of fact, this year it wasn't planned on, but I have that large deck that you might have saw photos of.
We did see those.
Since you saw those photos, that deck is now 15 years old, going on 16 years old. It needed overdoing. It needed to be reworked again and maintenance on it and be refurbished. Well, when I found out this variance came along, and I had a whole type before
I was just going to say, we're going to have to move along.
Yes.
However, we will take all of that into consideration, and we do see that you take exquisite care of your property.
Thank you.
We do see that.
I was just saying I did refurbish the deck since, so that's been completed. So I utilized my time one way or another.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I hope for a positive decision.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor of this case? Anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll move on to our next case.
The next application is application V 18-29. This is an area variance for the density, lot width, maximum driveway width, required front yard, and maximum structural coverage for the property at 1501 Grant Boulevard to establish a two-family dwelling. The property owner is Oak Street LLC, and the property is located within a residential Class A zoning district.
Hi, I'm William Pitcher, 124 Fiegel Avenue, Syracuse, New York, the architect representing the owner. The applicant purchased this house in 2005 in good faith as a three-family structure. During the inspection for the rental registry, it was discovered that the city records show it as a single-family dwelling unit. They're looking to sell the property, so they're looking to clean up all the title issues and legal issues in this matter. Part of this is a zoning issue, and part of this is a buildings code issue. And under the building code for the state of New York, if you can determine when the conversion took place, then you evaluate the changes under that version of the building code. So we determined from the city directories that it appears somewhere between 1960 and 1970, the property was converted from a one-family to a three-family unit. In 1970, it lists two people with different surnames and one vacant, which would indicate the third unit. That's contained in the report. Basically, that also brings up a zoning issue that we think the conversion was done before the City of Syracuse zoning went into effect and before the property was classified as a single family residence. Okay. Basically, that's what we're doing, and I went back and discovered that in 1960, under the codes, that could have been legally converted to a two-family in terms of the building permits. So rather than trying to convert it to three-family, which would have thrown it into a different code, the multiple residence code, we are proposing that it be a two-family unit. And the building code states that a dwelling unit must have sanitary and food preparation facilities. And the food preparation facilities must contain a stove, a sink, and a refrigerator. What we're proposing to do is to remove the sink from one of the kitchens, thus making those bedrooms adjacent to the second floor apartment. So it'll become two dwelling units when we make that a non-dwelling unit by removing the sink. So that's the internal that we're proposing to modify the building to make it two units. Regarding the other issues, the comments from city departments, we have issues with the driveway. What appears to be two garages on the property are actually two properties. The two-car garage is on the property, but the one-car garage is on an adjacent property. The owner will take out a foot of asphalt to delineate that property line between the two. And going to a two-family house, we only need 2 off-street parking, so we're willing to take out the 3rd asphalt parking space in front of the garage. However, the distance from the garage to the curb doesn't allow you to have a 12-foot curb cut, then going to 19-foot wide space for 2 cars in front of the garage. So we're asking for a variance on that curb cut to be the 2 parking space width of 19 feet. On the issues of the sidewalks, they are in good repair. They're not a trip hazard. The asphalt was there when the owner purchased the property, so they're not really looking to replace the sidewalks. I think those were the 2 major issues there. In terms of area coverage, it is too small for a 2-family dwelling. We don't have enough square footage. We have 5,000 versus 6,000 square feet roughly. So we're asking for a variance on that. The side setbacks and the rear setbacks, we have some problems there. We're asking for variances on that to the existing building. Regarding the issue of 2-family in the neighborhood, in the report we have listing all of the properties around it. We have a mix of an apartment house. We have a 2-story mixed use across the street. We have some 3-family houses and some single-family houses. So a 2-family house would not be out of order for this particular neighborhood. And the other zoning issue about protecting property values, since the conversion happened before zoning in 1960, any effects of decreasing neighboring property values would have been at that period long ago, and changing from a 3-family to a 2-family won't substantially impact the adjacent property values. I think I've addressed all the issues.
Are you, the current owner is renting 3 dwellings within the property now?
Yes.
What would be the financial impact if it were reduced to 2?
They're going to lose money. It's simply, instead of the rental of three apartments, it's only going to have 2 apartments as an investment property.
If it were to go to 1 family, would they have to abandon the property?
Probably, because right now the center stairway from the 1st floor to the 2nd floor has been removed. It's now a half bath, and to put that back in to make it a 1-family, you then have to rebuild the staircase. You have to cut into the 2nd floor living room to connect to the 2nd floor hallways. So there's the expense of those changes, plus probably in this neighborhood it's not a very desirable single-family house. I don't know what the going rates are in that neighborhood.
Now I'm puzzled here. You say that there's 3-car garage, or
No, there's a 2-car garage
Yeah.
on the property,
I saw that, yeah. And you said
and there's a single-car garage
where's the
on it.
single-car garage?
It's to the left of the 2-car garage. I don't know if you have a photograph or not.
I think we can't see it.
We can't see it in
Being
the
in the
picture.
diagram? In the,
No,
in the
no,
print?
that's on the right-hand side. The single-car garage is on the left-hand side.
Right.
Oh.
See this picture? So there's 2, and then there's another one.
Oh.
The next door neighbor owns that.
It's not on your property?
No, the 1-car garage is not
But the
the property.
pavement is interconnected. Is
Yes.
that correct? The
Near
asphalt?
the curb.
Okay. Any other questions?
It's a tough standard, as you know, the changing a use variance. And so the most important thing for us, I think, is going to be the financial aspect. You've touched on that some already.
Just to
Well, I'm
clarify,
not sure that I'm asking
Sorry?
for a use
just to
variance.
clarify, this is an area variance. It's residential class A, so the 2-family is allowed.
You're right, sorry.
No, I just want to clarify.
Staff, what he's saying about the change coming in the 1960s, is that consistent with what you've seen in the records?
I did ask the permit department to check from the point of time that they gave us, and they did not find any permits. In addition, it's still being assessed as a single-family dwelling. If it would have gone through the permitting process, I believe that triggers the assessment to change. So And also, just to clarify, the second garage on the other property is a non-issue. It's the amount of pavement that extends from the property line
Right.
all the way to the carport overhang portion, which is 45.
Are the garages usable?
Yes,
They're available for tenants to park in?
yes.
And it appears that the garage doors don't take up the entire garage. There's a portion of the garage
Right.
that's more of a,
So typically what the city's done is have the driveway as wide as the two doors and no wider than that. Is that
Right.
acceptable?
That's what we were proposing, to remove the third asphalt going to the parking shed,
Okay.
carport.
It says you're proposing 24 feet wide instead of 12 feet wide. For the-
Okay, what I did this morning was I looked up the zoning again. The parking spaces have to be 8'6" wide, so I'm asking for 19 feet of width to match, rather than the 24 feet of width.
Bill, I may be confused, but you'd mentioned the financial hardship that will be incurred reducing from 3 to 2 units, but the proposal is to establish a 2-unit dwelling.
Yes.
So I'm confused on that. Not
There, well,
to take the third unit out.
right, because the cost of maintaining the third unit is more than they want to put into the property, and it throws it in from the 1 and 2 family building code, it throws it in to the construction code with apartment buildings. So to do that, you'd probably have to add the second stair to the second floor, and you would have to put in a fire-rated ceiling over the entire first floor
Just to
unit.
be clear, it's to remove the third unit.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application? Anyone to speak against? Hearing none, we'll move on to our next case.
The next application is application V 18-30. This is a use variance to waive the uses permitted for the property at 301 to 303 Loomis Avenue to establish or maintain a two-family dwelling. The property is owned by the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation and is located in a residential class A1 zoning district.
Terry Luckett, Greater Syracuse Land Bank. I have to apologize. I was notified that this property was on the agenda for today, but I was focused on the other application we have, so I'd like to ask that this one be held over, if I may.
Okay.
Staff, any reason not to? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Do you want to wait and hold this one over? Or do we need to vote on it now? Okay. Would someone like to make a motion that we hold this case?
I'll make a motion that we hold it.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, the next application is application V 18-31. This is a use variance to waive the uses permitted for the property at 1101 through 1107 Avery Avenue to establish or maintain a retail use. The property owner is Sanjay Patel, and the property is located within a residential class A1 zoning district.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Robert Romeo, and I represent the applicant, Sanjay Patel, who is here with us today. He owns the property at 1101 Avery Avenue in Syracuse on the west side. Everything is included in our application, I think, that you may need to review. This is a use variance for a permitted use on this site, and the only reason why we have to go through this procedure is because this property has always been a grocery store, convenience store, from its inception, from when it was built, and it's always fit in the neighborhood as such. But in 2000, Mr. Patel has owned the property since 2003. In about 2016, he had a tenant that was operating the grocery store, the convenience store at that time, vacated for his own reasons, and was unable to find a suitable tenant and occupant and operator of the facility until just now. And that person is Sadek Muhammad, who's here with us today as well. We have a commercial lease for this property. Mr. Muhammad is a very reputable operator of this type of facility. He ran a Big M in Fulton, New York for 12 years without any problems or incidents, did a very good job, and he's very happy and pleased to come to this neighborhood and operate this site. So we have a viable commercial lease on this site. The property will be fixed up and brought back to life. It'll be an asset again to the neighborhood, and certainly within the character of the neighborhood, because it's always been part of the neighborhood, so it doesn't disrupt the character of the neighborhood whatsoever. We're here to answer any questions that you may have about the particular phasing of the redevelopment, which we like to have, completed before the outside. The inside is pretty much ready to go, and the outside will be completed before the winter, so that it's in good shape to open. But of course, we're looking for your feedback and any direction that you may have on that. The only thing else I had.
Grocery again?
Pardon me?
This will be a grocery?
Yes, exactly. I'll make perfectly clear, it's the grocery store. It's going to be a convenience store, grocery store, yes. I think that they'll probably have a wide variety, a selection of food stocked in the store, and a deli counter, and I think they may apply for a lottery facility there, but that's part of the application.
Will this be a Big M?
No.
Will Big M chain?
It would be a sure fine, because Big M doesn't exist anymore. They closed back almost 6 years ago.
You have to get him up.
Say the name again?
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. If you're going to speak, could you please step up to the microphone and provide your information as well? Oh.
Okay, my name is Sadiq Sam Mohammed. I live in 129 South Ave, Solvay, New York, and I ran a Big M supermarket in Fulton, New York, and we serve the community with fresh meat, vegetables, full line of grocery, and we also did money order and bill payments, and we basically trying to do the same thing in this store.
What's the name of the store that you're going to operate under? What's the name of the store?
Of the store right now?
No, that's going to be at this location.
Oh, Sure Fine, yes.
So it will be a part of the Sure Fine brand?
Yes.
Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Okay, but this location has not been a store since 2003, is that correct?
No.
Or it has?
Oh, go ahead.
No, it was owned by Mr. Patel since 2003, and was operated as a store until 2016.
Okay.
And only because, I think the provision is if it's closed for 2 years or more, then you have to come back and get a permit
Correct.
of use again. So that's why we're here.
Okay.
Okay, so it's that 2-year gap that we're trying to, take care of today.
Thank you for that
Okay.
clarification.
And I just wanted to also present this petition that the owner and the tenant, Mr. Sadiq Muhammad, went out and got petitions signed by many of the people in the neighborhood in support of this. I don't think it's part of the record yet, but I'd like you to have that.
Please give that to us, and we'll look it over.
Thank you. And, if you have any questions of Mr. Patel, he's here as well, so we're here to answer any questions at this point.
One of the questions we often hear about stores like this, will it be selling alcohol or tobacco?
I believe just beer.
Just beer.
Tobacco?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Any other questions up here?
Hours of operation?
We're gonna be opening at 7.
You got to come up to the thing.
We're gonna be opening at 7 and closing at 10 o'clock.
7 a.m. to 10?
Yes.
Okay.
When I was out the other day and took some pictures, I saw that there were cars parked like in front of the front door in an area that by code you can't park. Are you going to have control on parking?
Yes. Yes, the parking will be configured in the plan, which I think that there's no parking on the right of way or any place that you're not supposed to park. There will be no parking there. There's parking in the back and on the street.
Will something be done to prevent parking up there in front?
Yes.
Landscaping or anything?
Yes, we could come up with something so they won't park. I think some of the cars that are parking right now are from the employees across the street. So when we get that, when we put a sign up.
But would there be something that actually physically provides a barrier to parking in front of the store?
Mr. Patel indicates that we can put planters there to provide, a barrier for parking there.
Thank you.
I don't see a curb cut, but it's so low that it's easy to drive over the curb.
Any other questions?
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thank you.
Is there anyone here actually, let's do this by a show of hands. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this particular case? Anyone who'd like, in favor? Okay. Yes. You want to speak in favor of the store? Okay, yes, please. Oh, okay. Okay. Is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor of of 1101 to 1107 Avery Avenue? Okay. Please come up to the microphone. And if you'd kindly state your name.
Yes, my name is Stephon Storms. Did it come out? Sorry. Stephon Storms. I live at 1129 Avery Avenue, almost right by the, we call it, I keep forgetting the store. The same thing, yeah. And the store is great, Munchies. I mean, we have nothing over there. I mean, Tops is closing, and I mean, the prices are reasonable there. It's like the other store. I mean, the prices are so ridiculous. You know what I mean? $6 for a gallon of milk. It's like they're ripping up the community. Their prices are reasonable. I mean, you go in there happy and you come out happy.
So you see this as a convenience to the neighborhood?
Yes. And I'll go in there and say, wow, you get all this for $9? Wow, my eye was like, wow. And the other stores, like, it's not like that. And we need this store, because like I said, Tops is closing. I don't have no car or nothing to go to the grocery store. I don't have money like that, take buses like that. So we need that store, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate if we get it, and it's like, I keep saying, the prices are reasonable, man. I mean, I just love it, you know what I'm saying? It just saves money, you know what I mean? It's like, makes you happy.
Okay.
It makes me happy and everybody else happy.
Okay. Well,
we get tired of getting ripped off. I'm not a rich person. You know what I'm saying? I get my little food stamps. I want to, buy something. Not expensive. Go in that store, you get a can of soup, Progresso soup, for $3.99. And you go to the dollar store, you get it for $1.
okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your comments.
I mean, I'm just here for, and I just love this store. I love the hospitality. I mean, whatever it is, it's just nice, it's appreciated with these guys, it's like family, and I know him for a long time, it's from the west side, I know him for a long time, so.
Okay, all right, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for your
comments. I really
comments.
appreciate it. You have a good day.
Thank you, you too. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? Okay.
Afternoon, members of the Planning Commission and members of City Hall. My name is Iridat, and I live at 124 Olive Street, directly behind the Twin Trees 2 restaurant. As my previous speaker mentioned, we're about to lose our Tops over at Westvale Plaza, similar to what's going to happen to the one over in the Valley Plaza. And with that, there's a lot of people in his situation, as well as those who are elderly. There are a lot of people that are of the disabled community that a lot of them don't have the transportation that people like myself have, that can go ahead and just go down the road over to Camillus to like the Wegmans, or out over to DeWitt, or down to Western Lights to go over to the Price Chopper down there by the zoo. A lot of the people in our neighborhood don't have that option right now. And with the Tops closing, it'll make it even more difficult for them to get their basic necessities. Like many of the neighbors who are around me, we had our concerns about what this was going to be, because we have like the Munchies, we have the Solvay Super Saver, but they're not full service grocery stores. And it hardened me to hear Mr. Patel mention that this will be part of a chain of the Surefine brand, which is similar to that of his previous venture with the Big M stores. So I believe this will serve, at the very least, it'll serve as a Band-Aid until we can get another one similar to Tops to fill that hole over in Westfield Plaza. So I urge you to please allow this variance to happen, so we at least have somewhere to go until that situation at Westfield Plaza is alleviated. Thank you.
Is there someone else who'd like to speak in favor?
I just thought that I live at the corner of Charles
State your
Ave.
name.
Sorry, if you please state your name and address.
My name is Victoria Pengaro, and I live at 235 Charles Ave. So I live at the corner, so it's on the same side of the street as me too, so it's literally on my block. But I feel like it's more convenient to walk there than go a few blocks out of the way on that main road where they have all the car dealerships and everything. And I also noticed that there's a bus stop on both corners. And when kids are getting off the bus from school or people are getting on the bus stop, it's convenient to run in, grab something, or maybe if you live in the block, it's safe enough where you could have your kid walk down the street, maybe pick up groceries for dinner, a pack of chicken or something. And it's just quieter in that area. It's easier than going on the main road, going down on Milton, unless you're already on that end. Okay. And it's always been a store before I grew up in this area. I grew up on Willis Ave, and it's always been a store, and there's never really been a problem with it being a store before. And I feel like a lot of us miss that it's a store and it's convenient. And also a lot of our people in our community, we walk, we ride bikes and everything, and it's just simpler. It's hard to go to Tops and go with your bike to go grocery shopping and get something for dinner without worrying about, is my bike going to be there? At least at the corner, Avery and Chemung, it's a little easier because it's safer. You could go grocery shopping and you could go home. It's closer to your home, and you don't have to worry about all the traffic, all the busyness, crossing the main roads.
Okay.
So I think it'd be more convenient.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? I do ask that if you're going to speak in favor about this particular case, if someone has already said what you were going to say, if you could, kind of eliminate that aspect of it and just sort of add on if there's some new information that you'd like to provide to us. Oh, okay. Well, by a show of hands, how many of you did not speak yet who wanted to speak in favor? Okay, so we'll take note of the fact that there's 3 more people that did not speak. Thank you. Is there anyone who'd like to, I'm sorry, are you speaking in favor? Or is there anyone who'd like to speak against this application? Okay, same rules apply. If you'll, make your comments and try not to repeat the things that others have said before you. And kindly state your name and your address, please.
My name is Chad Ryan. I live at 507 Emerson Ave. I'm here in my capacity as the 2nd District Counselor, which this store encompasses. It cannot be understated the detrimental impact this property has had on that neighborhood under the ownership of Mr. Patel. This store has been a pariah until 2 years ago, which became a national holiday in that neighborhood when that store finally closed. It is a very transient group underneath the ownership of Mr. Patel. He had an outfit in there that they were just selling illegal cigarettes. They had a couple cans of soup and some toilet paper on the rack, but it was there to sell cigarettes. It was loitering, it was trash. It brought an element of crime over there. It severely decreased housing stock over there. There's business owners who would like to speak. There's 20 neighbors here that would like to speak. Everybody over there is affected negatively by this property being in operation. You know, it's been closed a couple years. I knew the 2-year grandfather was going to run out soon, so that was good, but I didn't tell anybody else that. So I'm glad that they waited. I don't think they marketed it to anybody else. They don't plan on using it for anything else. They want it to be a corner store. There's 2 corner stores within 2 blocks of that place already. There's somebody trying to get a 3rd one right up across the street, and somebody bought the pizza shop that's trying to get one. It's inundated with corner stores over there. And so the idea that anybody would want more corner stores over there, I just don't understand the reasoning behind it, especially if you're from the neighborhood and you saw the impact it had on the neighborhood. I mean, it just created a dangerous situation, loitering, and people were coming from all over the county to buy their illegal cigarettes at this establishment. So I just want to speak against this project. I know the entire neighborhood's here to speak against this project, and I hope you will deny this project moving forward. Thank you.
Can I just ask a question, Chad? Do you have a vision for what should... Do you have a vision for what should be there?
So it's zoned residential, and the new zoning plan coming up, you know, honestly, I think it needs to go residential. I don't think under the current ownership they will ever put anything in there that would do anything productive for that neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Kindly state your name and address, please.
My name is Robert John Adams, and I am the business owner at 1026 Avery Avenue. I wrote my note down here because sometimes my fleeting thoughts can't all be represented. I wanted to make sure that I got this all intact here. I wrote a letter, and I did speak to the individual who represents on the Common Council for our area. To the dear Common Councilors here, thank you for this opportunity to address you regarding the property located at 1101 Avery Avenue. My name is Robert Adams, and I am a property owner at 325 Chemung Street in Avery, and also own 1024 Avery Ave. I'm also the owner and operator of Adams Service Garage, which is located at that location. I have been in business at that location since 1992. I must tell you that I have concerns about the convenience store opening at 1101 Avery Ave. The corner of Avery and Chemung is a busy intersection. There are 2 bus stops, a thriving restaurant, my auto repair shop. Additional cars parked around the store and streets surrounding the store have caused driving and pedestrian hazards in the past. There are several corner stores, convenience stores in the immediate area, I might add all within walking distance. Munchies, Solvay Super Saver, Rite Aid, USA Convenience Groceries, as well as a brand new Burn Dairy well within walking distance in the next coming months that the city has already moved forward with to meet the needs of this neighborhood. In addition, I worry about the crime associated with the corner store. Over the years, I've watched the condition of the store at 1101 deteriorate. There was an increase in the neighborhood of police calls to the area, an increase in the garbage in the neighborhood from the patrons of the store, loud music, obscenities, youth fighting. These are a few of the examples of how the store at 1101 affected the neighborhood and my business. Almost on a daily basis, my customers would mention the activities across the street to express concerns about those activities. Of course, this greatly impacted not only my business, but the well-being of our community. In Syracuse, we have a problem with property owner responsibility and accountability with tenants. It is not acceptable for the owner of a property to simply collect monthly rent. Property owners in the city of Syracuse should be held accountable and aware of the use of the activities associated with their property. Mr. Patel has owned the property at 1101 since I recorded this, and it was 2002. They will not tell you that the name Patel is on there previous back to 97. In his absence and indifference regarding the condition of his property, the operation of the business is located at the property, and the neighborhood concern is, in my opinion, completely negligible. We have all noticed and welcomed the change in the neighborhood since the store at the corner of Avery and Chemung has closed. It is remarkable how clean and quiet the neighborhood has become. The required police presence in the neighborhood has dramatically reduced,
Criminal activity and vandalism has also decreased according to the police and neighborhood observations. I am vehemently opposed to the property at 1101 being reopened or becoming a convenience store. Respectfully yours, Robert Adams.
I do have to ask you all to hold your applause a little bit so that we make sure that we're able to get through all of you in a timely manner. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Okay. And kindly state your name, please.
Hi, I'm Frances Sokolowski, third generation on Chemung Street.
And I'm sorry, your actual address, though?
314 Chemung Street. It's right around the corner from the previous Bareka Boys grocery store, which was a grocery store for many years. Had a meat counter, had a deli. They would grind your hamburger right then and there. They had a butcher. It was real food. It was real produce. The history of the property after that, when they retired, went downhill very quickly. The meat counter was disassembled. The deli was disassembled, and it became a hangout with TVs on the wall and the lottery machine running. I live at 314, which is directly around the corner, and I have witnessed under numerous occasions with these types of convenience stores, drug activity. They make the deal in the store, and they drive around the corner to finish the deal. I would have drug baggies in my front yard. I would have, you name it, and we've seen it. It brings more drugs to the neighborhood, illegal drugs as well as your synthetic drugs. Unfortunately, the city of Syracuse has a budget that cannot accommodate the amount of convenience stores and monitoring and preventing them from breaking the laws. Somebody has to die on a street corner before the illegal drugs are pulled out or recognized that they're being handled there. The other issue I have with it is the definition of a grocery store and a convenience store. They're tagging the sure fine. My question to them and to you would be, are they gonna be responsible for scanning products like a normal grocery store does so that they can't just punch it in their pretend register that never has a tape that you can take home and read? And then they accept the food stamp programs and all of the welfare programs, and they're buying it off. I mean, I've stood in these stores and watched them buy a can of beer. Why are cases of beer broken out into cellophane wrapped six-packs? I know this is not the same owner, but it's the same owner of the property. And when you lease it out, you're condoning that. We have a number of, as it's already been stated, and I'll try not to repeat myself, but within a block and a half, there are other stores. There is rumor, and it's through the TOPS employees, Price Chopper, Hannaford, and Price Right are all interested in the previous TOPS. They're waiting for TOPS to close up, and they're making deals. So our neighborhood being without a formal grocery store looks like fairly limited. Up at that plaza, which is in walking distance, is a Dollar General, which now, if you drive around the countryside, are in every little community. They carry the products that a lot of people need at a reasonable price. They do accept the food stamp programs and all the other programs available, so the people in our neighborhood do have access to other alternatives than these convenience stores that sell chicken wings and lottery tickets and hang out and do drugs on the sides of them. The ones around the corner, I mean, literally, people are shooting up next to it in the alley. How do you call the police and say, I just witnessed this, and then they get there and go, well, they all scattered? There's nothing we can do. You call and they can't be here because they're so low staffed. So even when and if you decide this goes in, we're gonna be onslaught with calls to the police department with all the issues that they're gonna associate with having this convenience store, grocery store.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Name is James Johnson. I live at 413 Chemung. I've lived there 10 years and actually most of the last 30 of my life. Since that store's gone out, we've had nothing but improvement in the neighborhood. It's been more quiet, there's been less garbage, there's been less traffic issues. It's been a great change for the neighborhood. I'm speaking, I know I have one neighbor that's out of town and another would be here if he physically could to say the same thing. We've had, again, traffic concerns, talking about the parking. Those 4 parking spaces that are proposed on the back of that building have never been actively used. It's always been traffic across the front of that property. The roof that's on there is a metal roof that dumps snow directly onto the sidewalk, which would be the proposed walkway between the parking area and the front of the store. I can't say enough how much things have improved, and I really would love to see the neighborhood to continue the right direction. I do not believe that this store is going to do anything beneficial for that neighborhood.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak against this application?
My name is Vicki Christo, and I'd just like to speak as being a landlord.
I'm sorry, Ms. Christo. Could you please provide us with your address?
My address is 126 Thornton Circle, North Camillus. My son owns a house on Avery Ave, as well as my brother owns a lot of property on Avery Ave. And when the store was open, it was hard to bring tenants in to look at the property because of the boom box, the litter, the noise, the foul language, and everything else. And that gentleman just said it all. Since the store's been closed, it's been wonderful. It's a neighborhood again. And my brothers, both my brothers that are here today, go up and down. When the store was open, and they still do it, they would go up and pick up the litter. And then people became interested in their yards again, and they could go out again. When the stores open, everybody just hoovered inside because they were afraid. We don't want this store back open. It's too difficult. Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak against this application?
Hi, I'm Steve Thompson. I'm here in the capacity of a common councilor. I'm a councilor at large. I've been on the council for 4 years. Before that, I was with the Syracuse Police Department for a long time. I live at 564 Bryant Ave, the corner of Bryant and Avery Ave. So I'm quite familiar with this address. I'm quite familiar with the neighborhood. And I would just like to urge you to deny this application. I've spoken with other councilors. We feel that this would be best returned to a residential. I know it hasn't been for a long time, but it would be best changed back to a residential area as it is now zoned. So that's it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak against this application? Okay. Now we're going to give the applicant an opportunity to come back and respond to those comments that were made or make any closing statement that they'd like to.
Well, we weren't expecting all of that. We had, this application's been pending for a couple months and did not hear from our counselors. We did not hear from the neighbors. We did not see a petition that said that this was a problem. In fact, we took the time to walk the neighborhood and go around, and I think we gathered some, I don't know, 60 or 70 or 80 signatures or more. There's 10 people here that are in favor of this application. 4 or 5 of them didn't speak because they just want to say how much they're in favor of it. They didn't loudly clap and try to, you know, overwhelm you with their support of the application. They just sat back and said, you know, we're here to support this application. So I'm going to hand the original of the petition to Heather because it's a little more legible. Okay. But we can get the exact, you know, any information on these people that are in support. So, you know, this isn't a popularity contest. And even if it was, with the amount of signatures that we have and the support that we have here, I think that that may weigh in favor of this application even on that basis. But that's not why we're here, and this is not the basis of your decision about who claps the loudest and what counselors are in favor or against. This has always been a grocery store. This is not going back to a residential use, and we're not changing the use from day one. This has always been a grocery store. And it imposes a severe economic hardship on the owner if this application is not approved. In fact, I think it's tantamount to a taking. It's tantamount to an eminent domain, because now you've gotten a piece of property that's unusable for its use that he's had. So we have to consider the property owner's rights in this matter. But I just want to say, you know, one more thing about all the discussion that's had against this. It really, really comes down to a matter of the operator. It really comes down to the matter of how this has been operated in the past and those concerns, which I certainly can understand. Nobody wants to have a blighted, you know, a nuisance in their neighborhood. And that's what we heard, what was going on there for some time. A lot of the discussion was very, very anecdotal. I can tell you that Mr. Patel has never been cited by the health department or the police or anything else about the operation of the property. Now, maybe some of these things, I'm sure, took place and it wasn't a good situation. But what it comes down to is the operator. Sadek Muhammad is here. He is a very talented operator. He knows what he's going to do. He's going to operate that place in a clean, neat, and very safe manner. And that is up to the health department, the police, and others to supervise. And if there's a problem, it'll be addressed. The outside of the place will look much, much better than it does now. Do we all want to have a vacant building falling apart in our neighborhood? Is that what we're really here to, you know, to have go on? Because that's what's going on. It's got a vacant building falling apart. And there's no money to fix it unless we have a tenant. That's the way property rights work. You have a tenant and you use that lease to support the improvements to your property. And Mr. Patel is willing to use all that money and more, some of his own money, to fix that. There was an issue about the roof, somebody said. We'll fix the roof to whatever standard needs to be fixed to, so the snow doesn't fall on the sidewalk or inhibit the neighborhood in any way. The parking, as we said before, we'll put planters up. It'll look nice. If the operator was going to be a Starbucks or something, you know, all of their arguments will be the same thing. In the past, we don't like it. So you can't say by what happened in the past with a private operator have that influence what you're going to do in the future, especially considering the property rights of the owner. So I'd ask you to really consider the standards here in the application. And again, there's plenty of support for this application in the neighborhood. There's plenty of support. And so I would ask that you go ahead and do what is necessary to approve the application. I appreciate it.
Could I ask, it's zoned residential now, or is there any way that the property could be used for residential?
I suppose that you could tear it down and build, I don't know, is it zoned for 1 or 2 family? Can it be a 2 family? Can it be a 3 family? Can it be a 1 family? I don't know, I haven't looked at that. You know, and what are you going to get from a 1 family in that neighborhood? And after you pay all the costs of tearing it down and rebuilding it like that. So, you know, that's just the situation that we're in here. And, you know, I got to say that, you know, just in general, there's a lot of talk about these convenience stores and stuff in the neighborhood. I don't know that there are that many grocery stores or convenience stores in the neighborhood. I hear a lot of talk about, you know, new urbanism where people like to walk on sidewalks and walk to a store, and they don't want to get in their car and drive 3 miles to a huge mega Wegmans or something. And it's kind of a feature that we should be, as a city, promoting. Neighborhood, you know, so it's a place for neighbors to come and gather, and it's a place that's safe and clean and neat, and it's right there in your neighborhood. And a lot of the urban designers are going in that direction. So it's not something that's out of the character of the future as well. So I would just leave you with that.
Thank you. Okay. So that will conclude that particular case, and staff will now introduce the next case.
The last case is application V-18-32. This is a use variance to waive the uses permitted for the property at 119 Fairfield Avenue to establish or maintain a two-family dwelling. The property owner is Brian Murphy, and the property is situated in a residential Class A1 zoning district.
And if you'll introduce yourself, please.
Thank you. I'm Terry Luckett with the Greater Syracuse Land Bank, 431 East Fayette Street in Syracuse. 119 Fairfield Ave was constructed in 1920. It operated legally as a two-family until the zone was changed in 1962. The property went vacant.
I'm sorry, if we could have quiet in here, please, so we can hear our case. Thank you.
The property has been vacant since 2011 and lost its non-conforming use status. It was seized by the city for tax default and turned over to the land bank in January of 2016. Brian Murphy purchased the property from the land bank in March of 2017 before we realized that there were so many non-conforming buildings in the city. The land bank's now trying to address, as you know, zoning issues up front before the purchase goes through. Mr. Murphy was not aware that the property lost its grandfathering to operate lawfully as a two-family.
Excuse me for a second. I'm sorry, if you're gonna talk, could you please go outside? Thank you. Sorry, go ahead, Terry.
He has completely renovated the property. While he was doing that, he pulled 4 permits that were issued and closed, and it was never brought to his attention that there was a zoning issue. We're here today to ask the board for a use variance to operate the property as a two-family dwelling. Would you like me to go through the standards of proof?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Number 1, reasonable return. Mr. Murphy has invested over $65,000 in the purchase and renovation of the property. If the variance is not granted, he would need to invest further in the property to reconfigure it as a single-family dwelling. I included a comparative market analysis in the application that showed that the average value of single-family homes in the neighborhood is $47,500. If he were to sell the property, it's very unlikely that he could recover his sunk costs. If the land bank then recaptured the property for a default on our rehab enforcement mortgage, we would need to find another buyer that was willing to purchase and reconfigure the property, or alternatively, we would have to demolish the house. At an average cost of $25,000 for demolition, these costs could never be recovered through the sale of the vacant lot to the adjoining neighbors. New construction on that vacant lot is highly unlikely. As we describe in the standards of the proof, neither of these scenarios offers an opportunity for Mr. Murphy or the land bank to realize a reasonable return on investment. Number 2, unique circumstances. This property differs from other single-family properties in the 100 block of Fairfield Ave because it contains 1,800 square feet of living space. The other single-family homes on the house contain an average of 1,300 square feet. Number 3, essential character of the locality. The approval of the variance to operate the property as a two-family will not change the essential character of Fairfield Ave. While the street is zoned for single-family homes, it's made up of a mix of single-family and 10 two-family dwellings. The house fits in architecturally with the neighboring properties. Approving the variance will ensure that this newly renovated property maintains a sustainable, productive use. Removing the blight and occupying the property has already improved the neighborhood. And number 4, the hardship is not self-created. This property was vacated by a prior irresponsible landowner and turned over to the land bank for redevelopment. The loss of the non-conforming use status was not a result of the actions of the city of Syracuse, the land bank, or Mr. Murphy. Additionally, Mr. Murphy applied for 4 permits throughout the renovation process, including interior repairs, electric, and porch repairs. All permits have been closed. At no time during the process was he notified that there were zoning issues. That's all. I have Mr. Murphy here and Caitlin Wright from the Land Bank if you have any questions.
Any questions on this one?
I have just one question. Terry, we have these 2 pictures of it, and one with a tree in the front and one without. Is one of those the current picture and one an old picture?
No,
I
they're...
provided both.
Oh, okay.
And the bottom one is the old picture.
Oh, okay, thank you. Sorry.
So the improvements that we see in the old picture with the brush removed and the porches finished, I assume those were done by Mr. Murphy?
You want to speak?
Brian Murphy. I live at 412 Burnett Park Drive in Syracuse 13204. And the pictures that are on, so first of all, to answer your question, the house was completely renovated with new kitchens, new bathrooms on both floors, 2 new furnaces, 2 new hot water tanks. We put 20 plus new windows in the whole house, and new entrance doors. Pretty much the whole place is completely new. We did all that by pulling permits and following the guidelines set forth by the city in the respective areas. The picture that you're seeing on there, all the brush is gone, all the trees are cut from the front, and the porch on the side, that's the second floor, and also for an entrance for the first floor, is been completely rebuilt to, I don't know, I think it was done over this summer. It was about $5,000 or so. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly all the pictures that are on there, but.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this applicant? Okay. If you'll please approach the. Did either of you want to speak in favor of this applicant, 119 Fairfield Ave?
Hello.
Hi.
My name's Suzette Lapierre, and I live at 114 Edgewood, which abuts Fairfield.
Okay.
And I've been a landlord in Syracuse for about 10 years now. And 2 years ago, I bought the house at 114 Edgewood on the corner of Fairfield and Edgewood from the land bank to live in personally, actually. And the neighborhood is becoming more and more, can't think of a word right now, but better neighborhood. Whenever I first moved there, a lot of drug deals going on, a lot of stuff going on. And we were very pleased to see that someone like Brian came in and bought the house, even though we understand now that there's a little bit of a problem with it, supposedly going back to being zoned a single family versus 2 family. But on that street, I think there's 12 single families and 10 2 families, so it's about even. And we're just glad that there's a landlord there that's going to take care of the property. The immediate neighbor to him, her name is Fran. She could not be here today. She asked me to express that she is very pleased with the work that he's done and very pleased with how he's conducting, interviewing his tenants and keeping everyone in the property.
Okay.
So that's it.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of this applicant?
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Sunsere Warren, and I live at 305 Chemung Street, and I've been there for 5 years now. And yes, definitely the neighborhood, as do many neighborhoods, change. That doesn't mean that they change for the bad. Not always. I'm disabled. I can't drive. To have a place right down the street would
I'm sorry, are you speaking about the store that we were hearing the case about prior to this?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is for 119 Fairfield Avenue right
Oh,
now.
Fairfield. I thought I heard them saying Fairfield, but I thought they said something about waiting if you wanted to say something. That's everybody else left.
Right.
I
We originally had asked if anyone wanted to speak in favor, if anyone wanted to speak against, and then we give the owner or the applicant an opportunity to speak and rebut anything that was said during the opposition portion.
Okay, is there like something that I can get just so I can share with my parents, like what's going on over there?
Well, if you'd like to wait, we may be making a decision on the case today.
Okay.
It just depends on whether or not we decide to do that.
Okay, I'm gonna step outside, right out here.
Okay.
And thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Excuse me.
Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of 119 Fairfield Ave? Anyone who'd like to speak against? Okay, hearing none. Let's see, I believe we do have no new business, do we? Do we have new business?
We actually
do have new business, okay. We'll move on to the new business.
We have one new business item. For, it's a time extension request for the property at 213 Crowley Street.
Okay.
The original approval was dated June 8th of 2017 and adopted on the 29th. It was a use variance, I apologize, to permit a 4-family dwelling. The applicant has noted that he's requesting a 1-year time extension until June 29th, 2019.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we allow for this time extension.
Second.
One quick question, is there a reason, did they state a reason why? Is it in here?
He sent an email, it's on the second page.
Yeah.
He took ownership, I think,
So
a
there's
little
been
bit
some
later
difficulties.
Just mentions
in
difficulties.
October of 2017.
Some difficulties, he says.
Yeah, but you don't know, okay.
Guess we don't have any more specifics than that.
It's 213 Crowley Street. You guys know anything about that one?
Sorry, I don't.
That's okay, Caitlin.
Sorry, Caitlin Wright with the Greater Syracuse Land Bank. This is a property that we sold. This gentleman did contact us recently and stated that he was behind, but he didn't really give us a very clear explanation for why.
All right, thank you. Just curious.
All right, well, would you like to go ahead with the motion then?
I made the motion that we allow for the time extension for this work to be completed.
Rachel seconded? Okay, let's call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. And that is the end of the new business. So that will close out our hearings for today. And we can begin by decisioning. Let's begin with 615 Vine Street, that's V-18-28. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
And your rationale?
Yep. The applicant, I'll go through the 4 tests here. Is this, yeah, for use variance. The applicant cannot realize a reasonable return. I think he provided some documentation as well as reasoning when he presented the case to convert the property back to a single-family dwelling would be burdensome and costly and something that he is unable to afford. The alleged hardship relating to the property in question is unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the district or neighborhood. If I remember correctly, it's been a long meeting, but I think that the property was a 2-family, if I'm remembering that correctly, and because of a vacancy, lost its grandfathering. So I would say that it is, in my opinion, unique. The requested use variance, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. I don't think so. The applicant has gone to great lengths to improve the property. It's been operated as a multifamily for a number of years, and so there was nobody here certainly to speak against it. Only several people to speak in favor of it or submitted letters in favor. And then the hardship was not self-created. And then do I have to go through the
Why don't you
negative
wait? I think
declaration?
there's a clarification coming.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So, thank you. I just wanted to clarify, this was not.
Oh, it's a shed.
It has to do, it was not
Thank you,
vacant for
Heather.
any period of time.
Well, all that stuff applies to the shed, too.
I think it applies.
The shed was vacant?
I would say
Yeah.
the shed will be, you won't see the shed from the street, so I believe it would be an insignificant change to the neighborhood. There'll be no change to the, like I said, there'll be no change to the neighborhood because you can't see it. And Mr. Millard has spent money in making improvements on his house, and he will probably put the shed up to look fine and not be a detriment.
Thank you, Michael. And I'll further state too that with the need for storage, there's no way to put a garage on that property. It appears from the documentation that we've provided. So there's no alternative. I would agree with Michael that the construction of the shed at the rear of the property is not going to be visible from the street, particularly given the topography of the lot. It's going to be below street level. And no doubt in my mind that what he'll put up is going to be very tasteful anyways.
And seeker.
And review shows that there's a negative declaration on the environmental concerns here. Yes.
So, let's call the vote. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. Next case is V-1829, which is 1501 Grant Boulevard, the establishment of a two-family dwelling. Let's see. This was the one that was a three-family, or being used as a three-family at one point. They want to reduce it to a two.
For motions made, I just want to state that the company I'm with financed the acquisition and slight rehabilitation of this property many years ago. We still have a small mortgage on it. I just wanted to disclose that before we voted. I am not going to abstain, but wanted to just disclose that for the record.
Would anyone like to make a motion on this one?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
This is a area variance. Mainly, it's a big property on a small lot, and that's the way that were built back then. So I will go through the standards here. Will there be a change of the neighborhood character? I think there will be a slight improvement. We'll have 2 units in this property instead of the 3 that are there now, and the attendant cars that would come with a 3rd unit won't be there anymore. I think we should put in the condition of what the applicant has agreed to, which is to reduce the width of the driveway to the 2-car garage to no wider than the width of the 2 garage doors. I think we'll say nothing about the sidewalk, leave that to code to figure out. Will there be a change in the character of the neighborhood? No, it'll be, I believe, an improvement. Are there alternate solutions available so that a variance is not needed? Large property, a large building on a small lot. I don't think there are many options in this instance. The magnitude of the variance being requested is not great. Are there adverse effects on the surrounding neighborhood if the variance is approved? I think we'll see an improvement to the surrounding, to the property in the context of the surrounding neighborhood. And is it a self-created difficulty? I think they're dealing with the situation that they found reasonably by reducing it from a 3-family to a 2-family.
Would you like to add anything, Michael?
Well, I agree that reducing from 3-family to 2 will be a a less hardship on the neighborhood, less traffic, less visitors, et cetera, and I agree with Michael. Mr. Stanton.
Then we'll call the question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Do we need to specify that the driveway would be the width of the garage doors? Is that a?
I thought I was.
Is that good enough? Okay. I didn't know if we needed an amendment or.
All right, then we'll call the question. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Next one is 301-303 Loomis Avenue, which is the one we held over till the next meeting, followed by 1101 to 1107 Avery Avenue to establish or maintain a retail use. Would anyone like to make a motion on that one?
I'm going to move that we deny.
I'll second.
Would you like to give your rationale?
Page is it? It's 3, 2, 1.
She's got it.
Okay.
So it is for a use variance, you have to satisfy all of the 4 tests, and the one that I think it does not satisfy is that the requested use variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. I think we heard ample evidence that the operation of the convenience store at this location did alter the character of the neighborhood, and when it was not in operation, it restored the character of the neighborhood to what the neighbors wanted it to be. So I think that is the one test that it did not satisfy, and so that the use variance should not be approved.
I'll agree. It's a 4-part test. All 4 have to be satisfied, and any one that is not satisfied indicates that we should not approve the variance. And it's number 3, the impact on the character of the neighborhood that appears to be. It would be a problem for the neighborhood. It would be detrimental to the neighborhood if we were to approve this variance.
I'd like to also make the comment that the grocery stores now offer home delivery of groceries. So there's really no argument to say it's a convenience. They have to have it. They need a convenience store in their neighborhood.
Well, there are certain rules that apply to grocery delivery. So for someone who's receiving SNAP benefits, they're not able to use those with the grocery delivery service. For someone who is not on SNAP, they are able to use them. But to your point, you know, in that neighborhood, there's all sorts of people, and you know, for some of them, that might be a viable option.
I would just make a recommendation that you do break down each one of your consideration of each one of those elements, not just the third one, just for the record.
Okay.
First one is the applicant cannot realize a reasonable return provided that lack of return is substantial as demonstrated by competent financial evidence. We didn't really see financial evidence about the return on this property in any case, though I admit not being able to operate the convenience store would be a financial hardship. The alleged hardship relating to the property in question is unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the district or neighborhood. While this is the only convenience store on that block or in that immediate vicinity, and so this is a unique situation for that area. But also, we certainly have seen, we heard a lot of evidence that there were particular problems associated with this one property. And the fourth one is the alleged hardship has not been self-created. I debated about this one originally because we did hear that since it's been the same owner for a long time, a lot of the problems that existed under this owner, so that they weren't solved under this owner either.
And in addition, the owner had it through the period when it was vacant and the grandfather was about to go out. So in that sense, it was up to them to get something back into that place that was a grocery store to maintain the variance, and they did not. So in that sense, it's a self-created difficulty.
I would also add that in response to number one, that the applicant cannot realize a reasonable return. We don't necessarily know that the applicant tried to market this property for something other than a store. It's possible that there's another use that this store would be able to provide a return for. Okay, so we'll call the question. All those in favor of denying this application?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved.
I just got confused about how do you report this?
Yes. I'm in favor.
Sometimes we don't. Yeah,
I mean,
sorry.
I'm not, but I mean, the standards.
You're welcome. Okay. One more to go. Trying to leave already. Okay, and our final case, V-18-32. This was a use variance for 119 Fairfield Avenue.
Okay, I'll make a motion on this one since it's kind of the stuff I repeated on the first. Make a motion to approve.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay. So let me go through the test. I mean, I'll start by saying, first of all, you know, we've gone through this before with the land bank. I commend them. Usually we get these beforehand. This one came afterwards. You know, it happens. But clearly, with the land bank taking the property, it being vacant, them conveying it to Mr. Murphy, he has rehabbed the property, has done a tremendous job. Clearly, I think that the property was constructed as a two-family, and because it went vacant for a little bit, and please correct me if I'm going off track here, it lost its grandfathering, but clearly it's a two-family, so. You know, the improvements that have been made are not only great for the property, but obviously we heard really good for the neighborhood. So the applicant cannot realize a reasonable return on the property. I think, again, it's clear that the property was constructed as a two-family. It's been rehabilitated as a two-family, but even if it wasn't rehabilitated, to convert it to a single-family would be cost burdensome. The alleged hardship relating to the property in question is unique and does not apply to the substantial portion of the district or neighborhood. I would say that it is unique in that the grandfathering went away because of the vacancy. The vacancy, that's not the right word, but because it went vacant for a number of years. Requested use variance, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. I believe it will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. And as I've already stated, I think what's been done there is an improvement to the neighborhood, and it was not self-created by the applicant. I was going to say, if we have to declare a negative declaration on this, I will declare a negative declaration.
I would add that we've actually heard from someone else within the neighborhood that this neighborhood has been changing for the better, and that the neighborhood does include a mix of two-family and one-family dwellings. So I think that this is definitely keeping with the character of the neighborhood, the way the neighbors want to see it. So I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries.
Authorizations, I have one more to add. It is an area variance for the property at 1117 Butternut to construct a multi-family dwelling. There's a required front yard that needs to be waived. I'm just going to add that on to the end.
Okay.
In addition to 301, 303 Loomis.
Sounds good. Would someone like to make a motion that we approve these authorizations?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Motion
And a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's fun.